The Valerian Empire had conquered 47 star systems in less than 3 centuries. Their warships, gleaming monuments of chrome and plasma fire, had reduced entire civilizations to ash. When their fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, Emperor Croth IX himself broadcast the ultimatum that had broken countless worlds before: submit or be extinguished. Bernadette Chen stood in the war room of the Terran Defense Coalition headquarters, her arms crossed, watching the holographic display of the Valerian Armada. 300 capital ships, each the size of a small moon, hung in perfect formation near Jupiter's orbit. The blue glow of the projection cast sharp shadows across her weathered face. "They expect us to surrender within 48 hours, Francis Okonkwo said from across the table, his fingers dancing across a tactical console. As Earth's lead military strategist, he'd spent the last decade preparing for this exact moment, even when the politicians had called him paranoid. Standard Valerian protocol. They've sent the same message to 46 other species. And those species all knelt, Bernadette replied quietly. As the director of experimental warfare, she'd been called insane more times than she could count. The projects under her command had been deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable, too human. "We won't." Francis looked up at her, his dark eyes reflecting the hologram's cold light. "The simulations show we have a 7% chance of survival in conventional engagement. Good thing we're not conventional." Bernadette tapped her wrist. "Calm. Activate Protocol Prometheus." 23 hours later, Emperor Croth IX received Earth's response. Not words, but a single human ship, a battered cargo vessel barely capable of faster-than-light travel, limping toward his flagship. His officers laughed at the pathetic display. One ship against an empire. The cargo vessel broadcast a repeating message in perfect Valerian. "We are Francis Okonkwo, speaking for humanity. We accept your terms. We surrender." Croth IX permitted himself a satisfied click of his mandibles. Another species broken. Another world to be strip-mined and catalogued. He ordered the ship brought aboard his flagship, the Eternal Domination, to formalize humanity's capitulation. Francis sat alone in the cargo hold, his hands steady despite the gravity of what came next. The Valorians didn't scan for biological weapons. They were immune to most known pathogens. They didn't scan for conventional explosives. Their shields could withstand nuclear detonations. They certainly didn't scan for what humanity had created in the desperate laboratories beneath the Mojave Desert. Bernadette watched from Earth's command center as Francis's biosigns remained stable. The cargo vessel had been pulled into the flagship's hangar. Valerian soldiers in ceremonial armor were approaching the ship, preparing to escort humanity's ambassador to his humiliation. 30 seconds, she whispered to the empty room, though her words were transmitted across every military channel on Earth. "Forgive us, Francis." Francis closed his eyes as the Valerian soldiers opened the cargo hold doors. He thought of his daughter, safe in the underground bunkers of New Lagos. He thought of the millions of humans who would live because of what he was about to do. He thought of the 46 extinct species whose ghosts demanded justice. The Valorians prided themselves on their advanced biology, their engineered perfection, their immunity to weakness. They had never encountered humanity's greatest weapon, human unpredictability married to human spite. Inside Francis's bloodstream, the nanites activated. They were gray goo in reverse, not designed to consume, but to convert. Every molecule of Francis's body became a cascading chain reaction, a self-replicating transformation that turned matter into pure energy at the quantum level. The Valerian scientists had theorized such technology was impossible. The laws of thermodynamics forbade it. Humans had never been very good at following rules. The explosion began in the hangar bay of the Eternal Domination. Then it spread, not with the crude force of chemical reactions, but with the elegant inevitability of a mathematical proof writing itself into reality. The flagship's shields, designed to repel external attacks, did nothing against a threat that began inside them. Bernadette watched the tactical display as the largest ship in the Valerian fleet simply ceased to exist, taking Emperor Croth IX and his entire command staff with it. But the cascade didn't stop there. Francis's sacrifice had been designed with a secondary function. The explosion released a billion microscopic drones, each carrying the same message in every known language. broadcasting on every frequency. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not break. You came to our home and demanded our submission. This is our answer. The Valerian fleet commander, now suddenly and unwillingly promoted to emperor, faced an impossible choice. His flagship was gone. His emperor was dead. And the primitives from Earth had just demonstrated a weapon that violated every known law of physics. The remaining 299 warships turned and retreated. News of the Valerian defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The empire that had crushed 46 civilizations had been sent running by a single human sacrifice. The species that had conquered star systems had been defeated by a cargo ship and one man's willingness to become a mathematical impossibility. Bernadette stood in her office 6 months later, looking at the memorial hologram of Francis Okonkwo that now occupied the building's main atrium. Humanity had been contacted by 17 different species in the aftermath, not with threats, but with cautious proposals of alliance. The Valerian Empire was fracturing, its subject worlds rebelling, its authority shattered. They thought we'd surrender, she said softly to Francis's image. They thought fear would break us. She placed her hand against the hologram, and for a moment, it seemed to warm beneath her palm. They learned what every human knows. There are things worth dying for. And humans, she smiled grimly, have always been exceptionally good at making sure we don't die alone. The Valerian Empire would never recover. The message was clear across the stars. Earth bowed to no one. And any species that demanded submission would learn the same lesson, written in flames and sacrifice and the terrible beauty of human defiance.